Okay, this is the Unit 4 DCA, Reactions and Chemical Equations. Make sure you have the periodic table in case you need it to answer any questions. Question 1, how many total atoms, so you're counting total atoms, are there in the compound C8H9NO2? Make sure you list the elements and count them. A, 20. B, 19, C, 5, D, 4. Question 2. How many atoms of aluminum are there in a molecule of magnesium aluminum oxide? The chemical formula for that is Al2MgO4. So you're counting aluminum atoms. Question 3. How many atoms of oxygen are there in 3 molecules of glucose? The chemical formula for 3 molecules of glucose is 3C6H12O6. List the elements, count the atoms, and then how many oxygen atoms do you have? Question 4. Barium nitrate is an orange-yellow solid. The equation below represents a chemical reaction that occurs between barium nitrate when it is added to water. How many atoms are represented in the products of this equation? A5, B9, C20, D22. To answer this question, you're going to list the elements on the product side and then count the atoms. Now remember, you can list the elements and count the atoms on the reactant side if that's easier for you. This equation is balanced, so you should have the same number of atoms of each element on both sides. The next question, question 5. How does the chemical equation shown above demonstrate the law of conservation of mass? So this question is asking you basically, what is the law of conservation of mass? A, the volume of the reactants and the volume of the products are the same. B, the masses of Hg2, B2, Br2, Cl2, HgCl2, and Br2 are all the same. C, the number of atoms of each type of element in the reactants and the products are going to be equal. D, the number of compounds in the reactants and the products are equal. Question 6. Propane is a gas commonly used as fuel for engines and barbecues. When propane burns, it combines with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. An incorrectly balanced equation representing the burning of propane is shown below. Why is the chemical reaction or the equation shown above not balanced? So what causes the equation above not to be balanced? Is it because A, the molecule H2O is not represented on both sides of the equation? Is it B, the number of oxygen atoms is not equal on both sides of the equation? Is it C, the number of hydrogen atoms is not equal on both sides of the equation? Or D, the number of carbon atoms is not equal on both sides of the equation? List the elements on both sides. Count the atoms. See which ones are not equal. Question 7. A student passes an electric current through the melted calcium chloride, producing pure calcium metal and chlorine gas. What is the balanced equation to this reaction? So you need to go through each equation, list the elements, count the atoms. Which ones do not equal, or which ones do equal, is the balanced equation. So it's going to take you some time, but take the time to do it. You're looking for which one is equal on both sides. Question 8. Which of the following chemical equations shows that the total mass during a chemical reaction stays the same? Again, this is going to take you some time. It wants to know which equation is balanced. You're going to have to list your elements, count your atoms. Whichever one is the same number of elements on both sides, atoms of elements on both sides, is going to be your balanced equation. 9. Students performed 4 investigations in which they combined a white solid substance with 4 different liquids. In the investigation, the student combined the solid with a liquid in a test tube under a fume hood and recorded the observations in the table. So let's look at the observations. In investigation 1, the color of the solid turned from white to bright yellow. Number 2, the solid substance settled to the bottom of the test tube, and settled means goes to the bottom and stays there. 3, the temperature of the combined substances decreased. 4, the solid substance could no longer be seen and bubbles formed. In which investigation is it least likely that the liquids reacted chemically? So least likely means that it was not a chemical reaction. Is it investigation 1, 2, 3, or 4? Question 10. A student conducts an investigation in which he mixes a white powder into a clear liquid without adding heat. The student's observations are recorded below. The initial substance that they started out with was solid white powder, clear colorless liquid. After they mix it, he observed that the clear colorless liquid, there was no white powder visible, there was lots of bubbles formed, and the liquid became colder. What is the best explanation for what the student observed? A, the white powder dissolved into the clear liquid. B, the liquid is boiling and turned into its gas form. B, the gas bubbles are a new substance that have been formed. D, the white powder and clear liquid did not chemically react. Question 11. Students conducted an investigation. There you go. Now you can see it better. Conducted an investigation using steel wool and water. The students poured 100 milliliters of water into a beaker and then added a silver-colored ball of iron into the water. Next, the students observed the changes that occur. So look at the first picture. That is what they started with. The second picture is what they did. They put that steel wool iron into the beaker. Then the last picture is showing you what happened. Look at the thermometer. Look at what happened in the beaker. The students inferred that a chemical reaction occurred. What evidence best supports this inference? Is it A, the water remained clear in color? Is it B, the iron changed shape? Is it C, the temperature decreased when the iron was added? Is it D, a red substance formed in the water? Last question. A student conducts an investigation on the reactivity of metals with copper sulfate solution. The student places 10 grams of a sample of solid aluminum into a test tube containing 15 milliliters of a copper sulfate solution and a 10-gram sample of solid silver into different test tubes also containing 15 milliliters of copper sulfate solution. Both samples of copper sulfate solution are at room temperature. The student observations are recorded in the table. So let's look at the table. In test tube 1, bubbling occurs inside the test tube. The temperature of the liquid decreases. That means it got colder. The liquid changes color from blue to colorless, and the metal changes in color from a silver color to a reddish brown color. Test tube 2, no observable activity takes place. The temperature of the liquid remains constant. The liquid remains blue in color, and the metal remains silver in color. Which statement is not supported by the student's observations? Okay, so which did not occur according to the student's observation? A gas is produced in test tube 1. B, a chemical reaction takes place in test tube 1. C, energy is released in test tube 1. D, the substances in both test tubes reacted chemically. That means in both test tubes there was a chemical reaction. Which statement is not supported? If you need help, be sure to ask me. I hope you did awesome.